Hi there! So today we're going to talk about how we can combine the knit stitch and the purl stitch within a piece of work to create a fun stitch pattern called stockinette stitch. So we talked in the last two videos about the knit stitch and the purl stitch separately, and how if we were to only ever knit every single row or only ever purl every single row, we would get what is called garter stitch. We flip those bumps back and forth so we have bumps on both sides of the work. Today we're going to talk about stockinette stitch, which is often abbreviated as ST in patterns. So I'm going to get started just like I would with the knit stitch. I'm going to knit across this entire row. Okay, so remember, with the knit stitch we hold our working yarn to the back of our work. We come in from the front, out through the back, wrap our yarn, bring it through, slide that old stitch off the needle. Okay, so we're going to work through, knit all of these stitches across our row here, just like we learned in that knit stitch video. Okay, a couple more stitches here. So when I get to the end, I'm going to turn my work. And now if we were continuing in that garter stitch and I was knitting every single row, I would take that working yarn, bring it to the back and get set up to knit again. But I don't want to do that. What I want to do now is keep everything in the front and purl across this row. Okay, so I'm gonna keep that yarn in front, keep my right hand needle in front, make my X, wrap my yarn, bring it through, come off the needle. Okay, so now with the purl stitch, whoops, I'm keeping all of those bumps in front. All right, so I purl across this row. Now I get to the end, turn my work, and I'm all set up to knit again. So, keeping my working yarn in back, I'm going to knit across this next row. So what I'm doing is keeping all of my bumps to one side of my work. So I essentially have all knit stitches on one side and all purl stitches on the other side. So I knit across a row and then I purl across a row. Knit, purl, and continue in that same pattern. And you can already start to see something a little bit different than garter stitch is happening here. So we have all of these smooth flat stitches on one side. These are our knit stitches. And if we turn our work, all of our bumps are on the back, and these are our purl stitches. So this is our stockinette stitch. These flat smooth stitches are knit stitches. And then the back side, this would be considered reverse stockinette. So this is a very common stitch pattern in knitting patterns. It's often used as a background or just the straight pattern, the body of the sweater. It's often differentiated in patterns as the right side and the wrong side. Usually this flat smooth side, your knit stitches, are the right side of the work, and this would be considered the wrong side of the work, but that isn't always the case. The right side would be the outside of a garment, so when you put a sweater on, the outside would be considered the right side, the side that everyone's going to see, and the wrong side would be the inside of the sweater. So I'm going to show you a bigger piece here so you can kind of see that stockinette stitch in all of its glory. So this entire piece of work was knit in stockinette stitch. So I worked across, I would knit a row, purl a row, knit a row, purl a row. The only thing giving this piece here some depth is the color changes within it, but otherwise it's a nice smooth flat knit stitch from bottom to top. And then if I were to flip this, There you go. There's all my bumps, all of my purl stitches, that reverse stockinette. All right, so I hope this guys helped you a little bit. You can now start to combine those knit rows and purl rows and start creating some stockinette stitch of your own. Thanks.